Morning everybody, Mike Niemiec here with some early morning grain and oilseed comments on this Tuesday, September 10th. Well, we got a little bit of a pickup of buying interest in the overnight trade. We got the wheat markets up around 5 cents, corn's up 4, the bean market's up 5, the meal market up $1.50, and the oil market up around 10 points. Last week's softer tone for the week for grain and oilseeds, and we started out the Sunday night trade a little bit weaker, in the early session yesterday with a weaker tone. But that selling interest seemed to come to an end, and we kind of firmed up off of our lows. And like I said, we see a little bit of a follow through in the overnight session to the plus side. So maybe for the near term right now, we've kind of warded off the selling pressure for the market, namely in the sense that we're working our way towards Thursday's USDA report and trying to maybe consolidate ahead of that report at this point in time. We did see a big flow of selling on the last commitment of Treasury report, so we know that the trade did build up some net short positions, but we'll get to that in a second. Yesterday they came out with the weekly crop conditions. The corn crop condition, expected to be unchanged, dropped 3% in the good excellent category, giving the market some support in the overnight trade. They were looking for an unchanged number in the beans, and that they come out that way, roughly at around 55% good excellent, and we're roughly around 71% harvested in our spring wheat versus 87% average. The one thing we do know for certain is that the crop's a little bit late, and we still need to continue to have the growing degree days and the frost-free weather continue here for the rest of September into October. On the flip side, our weekly exports are not getting off to a good start in the new marketing year for corn and beans. Our corn is 35% behind a year ago, with the USDA currently forecasting only a 2% decline. And then in the beans are running 40% behind, with the USDA looking for a 4% increase. Wheat exports stay on the positive note, however. They're up roughly around 23% for the year, with the USDA looking for a 4% increase. Yesterday, the market that had all the attention was the soft red winter wheat, and the rest of the wheat classes saw good gains and had some follow through in the overnight session. We've been canceling registrations of the winter wheat classes, and that continued in the overnight trade as well. We canceled another 36 soft red winter wheat. We also canceled 24 hard red winter wheat. So that's been a pattern of canceling registrations, giving the market some support. There was also some newswire stories coming on out over concerns over the winter wheat conditions and the progress both in Australia and Argentina. So that got a little bit of traction. And then we also saw the big jumps in the commitment of Treasury report as far as net short positions go for the winter wheats. So maybe there was a little bit of position evening in that with yesterday's trade, but we'll get to that in a second as well. China's in the news on a couple of fronts. They say a trade deal with the U.S. can be had if the U.S. were to drop the final 20% of the demands, that being this Made in China 2025 program, but more importantly, the U.S. trying to make sure that the Chinese will abide by the rules of the trade and or U.S. guard against intellectual property, and that could be something that the Chinese are not going to want to surrender. And then on another front, pork prices continue to soar in China in August due to the swine fever outbreak, and this is accelerating the consumer inflation rate and starting to scare consumers as the disconnect soars. Malaysia came out with their monthly stats for palm oil stocks and exports. Their stocks were up from a 13-month low, and their exports were up 16%. That gave the Malaysian palm oil market a little bit of support. U.S. weather is mostly mild over the near term, with the temperatures and the conditions being beneficial for the crop, but there's a little bit of twist in the extended. The GFS model is looking for a cold wave to come into the Midwest, that being at the end of the 11-16 day period, so we'll have to monitor that. Dakotas, Minnesota, parts of Iowa could be susceptible, but the European model is not going in that direction. Argentina still needs rain. There's no rain in the forecast. As we mentioned, there's been a little bit of talk about it. And getting back to the open interest yesterday, it was up across the board. So once again, with us being higher in the wheat market, the open interest was up 8,700 in soft red winter wheat, so it still doesn't suggest that yesterday was a position evening day. Across the whole floor, people are putting on new shorts and long positions ahead of this USDA report instead of position evening, at least up to this point. So we were a little bit better in the overnight trade. Maybe the selling's off for now until the USDA report. And in general, we're just looking for us to try and get back to and be at pivotal price areas when the USDA report comes out on Thursday. These are my opinions, not that of ADM or ADMIS. I thank you.